Can't even find the phone. Hello. I'm famous. My name's published in one of the biggest books ever printed. Okay, what's the pitch? Oh, the phone book. Big joke. Oh, Al, I can't believe it. I should have known. What are you doing in town? With Linda? You've got to come and see us. No, it's fine with us. In an hour? Okay. We'll see you then. Bye-bye. Sharon, guess what? Al and Linda are in town.
Oh, no kidding.
They're going to be here in an hour.
In an hour? Ron, this place is a mess. We got to clean up in here.
Okay.
It takes a long time to grow a peach tree. In the fall of the year, October or November, peach seeds are put into the soil in rows, approximately 2 inches deep. The ground around the seeds will freeze solid, but the seed will not be damaged. This cooling of the seed will help to crack it open early the next spring. The seed will germinate, sending up a small green shoot, while also sending rootlets into the ground. During the first year, the tree will grow very quickly. The ground must be hoed regularly to keep the weeds away. It is also very important to keep diseases and insects away from these tender plants. The main purpose this first year is to establish a good root system. The plants that grow from these seeds are wild, and if left to grow, would not produce good quality fruit. They must be grafted or budded to the desired variety. After the seedling has grown from April to the end of July, it is large enough to be budded. It is cleaned, especially around the base of the tree. The buds, which are then used in the grafting procedure, are cut off larger trees in the orchard. These shoots of current season's growth are called bud sticks. The leaves on these shoots are trimmed off to make sure the buds do not dry out. The ends of the shoots are placed in a pail of water and kept there until used. The person doing the grafting is called a budder. Using a very sharp knife, a thin layer of the shoot, including a bud, is cut off and inserted into the seedling, immediately behind the bark. A T-cut on the seedling makes this procedure very simple. This has to be done quickly so that neither the bud nor the seedling have a chance to dry out. Working behind the budder is the tyer. This person is responsible to tie a rubber band around the bud to ensure good contact between the bud and the seedling. The band will stay on for most of the fall and gradually come off during the winter. The bud itself will have grown onto the seedling in about 7 days. A good budder and tyer will be able to bud approximately 2,000 trees per day. The buds that have been inserted are completely dormant and will not grow during the remainder of the season. As the temperatures get colder, there is a chance that the buds could freeze. Therefore, an insulating blanket of snow over these buds is ideal and will keep them in good condition. The next spring, in late March, the upper part of the tree just above the bud is cut off to encourage the bud to grow and become the new tree. As this bud then begins to grow, wild shoots around the bud will also grow, and it is very important that only the bud that was inserted is allowed to grow and produce the tree. As this tree grows, some of the side shoots are taken off to produce a stem or a trunk. The tree will grow quite quickly, and by the end of the summer will be approximately 5 to 6 feet in height. Then gradually the tree will lose its leaves and be ready to be dug sometime in November. A large caterpillar-type digging machine is then brought in to dig the trees. This digger has a U-shaped blade which undercuts the root system of the trees, brings them out of the ground, shakes off most of the soil off the roots, leaves the trees for the working crew to pick up with tractors and wagons. They are then brought into a storage area where the roots are moistened each day until they have been graded according to size and variety. The trees are then bunched in groups of 5 or 10, and the roots are placed into sand inside the storage. The temperature is kept at just above freezing to ensure the trees stay dormant until the next spring. Farmers who usually have placed their order during the previous year will then come to pick up their trees and plant them in the fields. The ground must be in good condition, not too wet, and easily workable. The trees are set into holes dug with an auger. The ground around the roots is packed in tightly. The tree is pruned back severely, and within a few weeks, the first green shoots appear. The farmer must be careful to keep insects and diseases away from these young trees to ensure good growth. If some fruit appears during the first 2 seasons, he may wish to take it off immediately to ensure that most of the strength goes into the making of good branches. Then the 3rd year he can expect a fairly good crop of peaches, and the next year an even better crop. As you can see, it's taken about 5 years for that first seed to grow, be grafted, and finally become a mature, producing peach tree.
Come on in.
Hi, Ron. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Hi. Hey, you're looking great.
Oh, glad that you could come.
Well, this
That's
is just
really neat.
super.
Hi,
Ron.
Sharon.
Good to see you.
It's been a while.
Why don't you sit down?
Thanks.
Thank you.
So, I'm famous, eh? Mm-hmm. I nearly hung up on you, you know.
Well, you've done that to me often enough.
So, what's new?
Well, we just spent a week at a course on family communication, and we were so close by, we just had to stop by and see you on our way home.
Oh, hey, we're really glad you did.
You're always welcome here.
Oh, thanks. So, how's married life? After a year of it, you must be about ready to write a book.
Not that at all. As a matter of fact, I'm glad we broke off our engagement and got married.
Yeah, it's great. Mind you, the honeymoon is over.
Yeah, that memorable time when I used to shave twice a day.
And I took advantage of every glass door and mirror to touch up on my hair.
All that lasted 3 weeks,
Yeah.
would you say?
That would be generous.
We may not think about it very much, but there is a constant living drama going on the ground beneath our feet. Part of this exciting world belongs to the ant. There are hundreds of species of ants. They have many interesting characteristics and different ways of doing things. Ants are called social insects because they live and work in groups. There may be hundreds, even thousands of ants in one colony, or there can be as few as 10 in a new nest. Each ant has a specific job. Some ants feed and care for the young. Some keep the nest clean and store away food. Still others guard the entrance to the nest. The queen is sometimes called the mother of the colony because she spends her entire lifetime, which can be as long as 10 to 15 years, laying eggs. During warm weather, she may lay eggs every few minutes, and in the case of some species, up to 30,000 per week. The queen is not the ruler of the colony, but the workers feed and care for her. The workers are female ants that do not lay eggs. They work in the colony building, collecting food, and caring for the young. The work for the worker ants is divided according to age or size. The younger ants stay in the colony as nurse ants, and the older ones go out for food or protect the nest. For some species of ants, when they meet strangers, they will often fight. But when nest mates meet, they will stop to share food or touch antennae. Older workers will leave the safety of the nest to go out to find food, helping the colony in this way. An ant can carry loads many times heavier than itself. In the case of one kind of ant, the honey ant, the young workers will fill up their bodies with sweet juices called honeydew and hang from the ceiling of the nest. They become so swollen that they cannot move, and for the rest of their lives, they will hang by their feet from the ceiling. When hungry ants come for food, these storage ants give up honey from their mouths. This is their only task in life, to be a source of food to other worker ants. The ants' jaws open and close sideways. They use these powerful jaws to crush hard seeds. They also use them to squeeze their enemies to death. When ants bite, their jaws may not let go, even if their heads are cut off. Ants can tell when an intruder has entered the nest by its odor. Workers will guard the entrance by fighting, even giving up their lives if necessary. An example of this is when a bird called a flicker finds a nest of ants and decides to make a meal of it. The flicker is actually a woodpecker. When it thinks that it has found a doorway to an ant tunnel, it knocks vigorously with its beak. The ants, always protective of their homes, scurry up the tunnels to the doorway to challenge the intruder. Now the flicker has a long, slim tongue, something like a spear, and it's sticky. The ants mistake it for a worm and attack with vigor. As they do so, they stick to the bird's tongue. The bird then pulls its tongue back into its mouth with its meal, while continuing to plug the doorway with its beak. It reinserts the tongue into the tunnel and catches more of the loyal defenders, doing the same again and again. Even when in the face of death, the ant struggles loyally and sacrificially to protect its home from danger. In the Bible it says, "Take a lesson from the ants. Learn from their ways and be wise."
We concluded that the honeymoon stage was over the time Sharon lived in her housecoat for 3 days without doing anything to her hair, trying to get an essay done. Boy, you should have seen the bags under her eyes.
Yeah, and then at the same time, Ron had the stomach flu. I'd never seen a green face like that before.
Yeah.
Wow. Remember the end of our honeymoon, Linda, when you started shift work and I started cooking? Mm-hmm. I couldn't even fry potatoes without burning them.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, and I remember the times I cried because you weren't saying enough "I love yous."
Yeah. You know, living together in the closeness of marriage really forced us to see some things in each other we hadn't noticed before.
We found a lot of things that we hadn't expected. It was one thing after another.
Like, I found that Ron was more willing to help around the house than I had expected. But then sometimes his tightness made our shopping trips together a bit of a pain.
Yeah. I found that Sharon was a more stimulating thinker than I had thought. And I found she wasn't as super neat as I had expected. But then I had some pretty unreal expectations.
Once long ago, there lived a man who tended to be a rather judgmental person. He was never satisfied with anything other people did. He always had something critical to say about them. When his wife baked him a meat pie, the crust was either too thin, or too thick, or too soft, or too hard. When his children came near him, they were always too noisy, or too carefree, or too messy, or too late. The woodcutters in his logging camp where he worked were either too slow or too fast, or too careless, or they joked around too much for his liking. What he didn't think about was that he had some characteristics himself that other people didn't like either. Well, eventually, people began to criticize him. They judged him back in the same way that he judged others. It was like walking around with something caught in his eye. Something big, like a tree branch. And when he met someone with a bit of sawdust in his eye, he stopped and tried to help him. It never made sense. A guy with a tree branch stuck in his eye, trying to help someone else get a fleck of sawdust out of his eye? You have to get the branch out of your own eye first. Otherwise, you're just a big old hypocrite. And that's how our friend was, until he saw the light. And soon, before he criticized someone else, he got rid of his own bad practices first.
Actually, it's been kind of exciting to make all these discoveries about each other.
It's not always easy to treat them as exciting discoveries, though. They can be excuses for put-downs about things you don't like in the other person.
Yeah, or even the start of some very interesting conflicts.
Yeah, we found you really have to keep on working at a marriage. You keep on being committed to each other and keep on talking until you have a solution both can feel okay about.
That's right. Instead of just yielding to the temptation to give up on your marriage.
How are you two doing? You're veterans after all these years. Any new developments?
Well, matter of fact, there is. We're working on adoption, and we spend quite a bit of time on it lately.
Yeah, the nursery's almost ready and we're into the any day now stage.
Oh,
Fantastic.
That's really neat.
Sitting alone, no one to phone. Inside there's pain that you're feeling. Walking outside, you try to avoid someone like you who needs healing. Isn't there a way to be friends? Isn't there a way to share our secrets? Isn't there a way to know we belong when we're together, together? We make demands or misunderstand. Soon we can't talk to each other. So listen with love, speaking with care. Don't hide from God or each other. Isn't there a way to be friends? Isn't there a way to share our secrets? Isn't there a way to know we belong when we're together, together? There will be times to stand by yourself, times when you've got a good reason, something to say, a yearning to pray. For everything there's a season. Isn't it time to be friends? Isn't it time to share our secrets? Isn't it time to know we belong when we're together, together, together?
Well, that sounds exciting. How did you come to the decision to adopt?
Well, we've always wanted a child in our family because we feel like a child has a lot to teach us about life and ourselves, and gives us a special opportunity to contribute to somebody else.
You know, we've been told many times that children is really going to change our lifestyle. And we're not quite sure what that means, but we feel we're ready for it. We're also hoping that we'll have some help from our immediate family. It almost seems as though it's too much for a couple to raise a family on their own. I guess that became evident to me in my experience as a social worker. It appears that people need to have a support group for encouragement and for periodical breaks from the demands of the children.
We really need each other. Sharon and I talk a lot of how important relationships are and how much we have to do to keep them up.
It's not easy in a time like this when everyone, well, including us, wants to do his or her own thing.
It's so easy to be selfish instead of thinking of the next person.
You know, Christ was a real example to us. Even though he had all the privileges of being God's son, he didn't come to earth to please himself.
And
there was sacrifice in almost everything he did.
See, we need God to change us at the very core.
Yeah, he gives us the incentive to give to another person. And that really does help to create deep, fulfilling relationships.
Have we showed you our wedding pictures?
No.
Hey,
Like to see him.
Yes.
we show them to almost everyone who comes around.
That's great.
Here.
You and I are special, and we've got our special names. You and I are different, but we feel things much the same. You and I have moments we say life's a lousy game, and moments seem like hours when all you feel is pain. Help us helping each other, help us healing us, Lord. Help us love one another, help us say the right word. Give us strength for each other, give us strength for the load that we carry together along life's road. You and I get bruises and we get our broken bones. You and I get beaten trying to beat our broken homes. You and I have failures and so often we're afraid. Get put down and frustrated, just want to run away. Help us helping each other, help us healing us, Lord. Help us love one another, help us say the right word. Give us strength for each other, give us strength for the load that we carry together along life's road. You and I get bitter when we only want the sweet. You and I are losers when we start to love defeat. You and I are cop-outs when we blame it all on God, whose loving will and purpose is greater than our thoughts. Help us helping each other, help us healing us, Lord. Help us love one another, help us say the right word. Give us strength for each other, give us strength for the load that we carry together along life's road.
He's been working like that for a long time now. I think he's struggling with something. As a matter of fact, I'm sure he's struggling with something. What he needs is a break with a Third Story magazine. Just the thing for encouragement when frustration strikes. It has a lot of stories that appear on the programs, songs, things to do, and other interesting features. Something for the whole family. Write for it today. It's free. And if you'd like to tell us something about yourself and your experiences, we'd be glad to hear from you. Write to The Third Story, Box 2, Station F, Winnipeg, Manitoba. That's The Third Story, Box 2, Station F, Winnipeg, Manitoba.